for me, one of the single most exciting questions of my platform is how do we keep our young people at home? How do we avoid losing them as actors in the economy, as our future leaders? I spoke previously about what I call the ownership society. What we have is young people trying to enter the workforce with a great deal of debt. To become economic actors, they need to own homes, and they need to own businesses, and they may need to own their workplace. Let's start with employee ownership. The most fantastic economy in Europe that is holding Europe together right now is the German economy, as outlined by our Secretary of Finance, Andrew Saxton. How is Germany doing this? The single biggest outgrowth in their economy is a huge increase in employee ownership. Employees beginning to own their own companies. Workers rising up not to seize the means of production, but to own companies that are struggling. Let's take an example close to home of what employee ownership looks like. In what used to be part of our riding, in Nanaimo, we have the Harmac Mill. The Harmac Mill was about to become an industrial scrap heap, just to be let go by its owner, parent company. The workers banded together, they worked together and built a model that the employees would own Harmac and turn it around and keep it going. All the studies internationally have shown, both here in Germany and abroad, the productivity factor. We will win and keep young people at home and families at home by a productivity factor growing by a factor of 4. So when the company is owned not by the employees, but often by a transnational, the productivity is average. When the worker owns the company, has a stake in it, they're invested, they care about it, and they stand to benefit more as shareholders in ownership. And they bring a productivity that just isn't seen normally before, and they keep that industry alive. So the mill is alive. Not only is it kept alive, but it is on track to become 4 times as productive. This is a model the Conservatives in Britain are adopting, to the point where they now earmark all heavy industry to be owned by 10%. 10% of heavy industry, they now enact legislation to support 10% ownership by employees. So that's key. The other thing is the bottom 50% of society in the late 60s used to own 12% of the wealth. How much do you think the bottom 50% own now? Care to take a guess? They own 1%. Now, you could take this as an economic disaster story or a crisis, but in every crisis there's an opportunity. The banks, who are smart, they notice that there's a crisis in ownership in the bottom 50%. The banks, when they figure out how to loan money in microcredit for both not only homes, smaller homes, fractional cooperative ownership, and fractional cooperative ownership of business, as exampled in employee ownership. This allows young people a buy-in at a smaller amount. Instead of spending, $400,000 or $350,000 on the average priced home, after they pay off their typical 6-figure debt from their education, they can own a smaller home in a smaller cooperative. It's still a home, it's still an actual mortgage, but the banks that get this and the governments that get this, like the Conservatives in Germany, in Britain, and in Canada, when they can reduce the size of business, the size of home that they target for loans, for ownership, you can look at the bottom 50% of society, including these young people that Bill Zylstra cares about, and you offer them a place here in the Cowichan Valley with a smaller home, a starter home, a smaller business, a starter business, and you loan to that. The microcredit model is changing the face of the planet and the economy. You offer them a buy-in. You don't set the bar so high, at $350,000 for a home or a business. Both tax incentive, not only for first-time home buyers, but first-time business owners. This is vital. not only at tax time to help them to say, to continue the first-time home buyers benefit, but also you offer training, business training as well. That's going to be key. A mentorship program through Community Futures Corporation, which have to be beefed up and strengthened. Communal expertise. You offer a business community helping the younger people. So what I see happening is the chambers of commerce reaching out, educating, mentorship programs amongst business community, but starting with the banks.